How does this all come to be? How do you become Aldo Montoya?
Wow, it was really it happened very accidentally, as a matter of fact. Long story short, I was doing extra work, I was a jobber for the WWE as PJ Walker. I was a couple of years in the business, and I'm from Connecticut, where I still live today. And I was at a house show in Connecticut, just visiting the boys. And Tony Gurria, who was one of the producers slash agents at the time, said, "Well, we're doing a new show called Monday Night Raw, and in Manhattan, if you want to come, we'll pay you 150 a night to do some jobs." I said, "Great, it'd be a great experience, etc." Long story short, I ended up doing really well. They liked me. They used me quite a bit. And one time I was doing work at the office for Mark Calloway, The Undertaker, and Brian Lee when they did the double Undertaker gimmick. And Vince McMahon and Pat Patterson were also there. And Pat and I were a little friendly, and he started asking me questions about what nationality, who had trained me, etc. And I told him I was Portuguese, and he popped huge, and he told Vince. And all along, they were looking for a Portuguese-speaking guy to fit this role of this character, Aldo Montoya. So again, right place at the right time.
Wow. Now, there's a match circulating on Twitter right now, Aldo Montoya versus Hakushi, and both of you were such high flyers. Was there someone that in particular when you worked in the WWE as Aldo Montoya you had chemistry with?
For sure. I mean, I really had chemistry with a lot of people, but Chris Candido, when he wrestled as Skip from the Body Donnas, definitely him. Hakushi, obviously, great dude. We were actually friendly and used to travel together back in the day. Yeah, and he spoke very little English, so it was funny. I remember one time he slept at my parents' house, and we only had so much room, so he slept in a sleeping bag under the dining room table. That's a true story. But anyways, and guys like that, Barry Horowitz, the 1-2-3 Kid, X-Pac, my former tag team partner and close friend to this day. Talked to him yesterday, as a matter of fact. It was my 50th birthday. But yeah, those kinds of guys, guys that would do similar stuff. I was always a fan of like Ricky Steamboat and Brian Pillman in those days, because at those, when you were 225 pounds, which I was, which is kind of big nowadays for wrestlers. It was so small back in those days, because it was the land of the giants. I figured I'd have to be a high flyer, because, guys like Owen Hart, myself, we were considered small wrestlers. Now wrestlers, are a little bit, especially in AEW, much smaller than they were 20 years ago, which is nothing wrong with that. But, back then it was just a bit different.
That's so funny you say that because I remember exactly where I was told about to you as well as Aldo Montoya. I'm at a basketball game as a kid, and someone's like, the 1-2-3 Kid, he does crazy moves? Well, this new guy, Aldo Montoya, does even crazier moves. And I was like,
That's funny.
what? And this is the
That's
time we didn't
funny.
have DVRs, so I didn't
Right.
record superstars on the weekend to see you doing these crazy maneuvers. But did you like the mask? Did you like the costume? What are your feelings on the presentation?
I didn't like the mask. That was the biggest problem, was the mask. And because when Vince had the design and he proposed the design to me, I looked like a Power Ranger almost. It looked very.
Yeah.
No, I wish I still had it, man. I don't know what I did with it. I wish I still had it. It was dope. I had like Road Warrior shoulder pads and this cool mask, and it just. I remember when WWE was downsizing in those days, and business was really down in those 94, 95 years. And I remember they had a seamstress or costume lady go with me into New York City to try to like a bondage shop, no lie, like a leather bondage shop, and try on like S&M masks. They were just trying to find something to kind of fit that. Today we can make so much, like, times are so different with the world, with the internet, and you could just get anything anywhere. But back then it was a little more difficult. So we had a really hard time coming up with, because the original mask was made out of leather, and it was almost like a cane mask, but they did not perfect it. Like everything was just leather, and there was no movement. Like I couldn't use it. So we went with the cloth, and it just did not go right. And it was a shame because I think that really hurt the character, totally. But it is what it is.